Welcome back, everybody. In this video, we're going to go over what a salvage vehicle is, why you'd consider buying one, and why you may want to just avoid them altogether. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video so you can find out one of the best things you can do before buying one. Before we get in too deep, what is a salvage vehicle? Well, there's a few ways a vehicle can end up salvaged, but ultimately it's when the insurance company decides that it's cheaper to pay out and considers the vehicle a total loss. In most cases, it's around 80% of the vehicle's value. So, you're probably wondering, how is there more than one way a vehicle can end up salvaged? It was in an accident, right? Well, yes, that's one of the most common ways, but there are other ways as well. One of them is theft. When a vehicle is missing for more than a set amount of time, normally around 20 or 30 days, depending on the insurance company, they'll consider the vehicle a total loss and pay out the owner of the vehicle. And you guessed it, the vehicle now has a salvage title. This means if the vehicle is ever recovered, even if there's nothing wrong with the vehicle and it was never in an accident, it's still a salvage vehicle. Another common way is flood damage. With Hurricane Ian back in September of 2022, all the vehicles that were claimed by the sea were also totaled out by insurance. Kind of like that McLaren P1 that everybody saw floating around in the ocean that Tavares just happened to pick up. So now you have a pretty good idea on how a vehicle ends up salvaged. But what's next? All these vehicles need to go somewhere, and two of these places that they end up are Copart and IAA. This is where these vehicles will be auctioned off and start their journey to get back on the road. Well, some of them. When you buy a vehicle, most of the time you see the term clean title. But what's that? On the title, there's a brand section, and if there's nothing in that section, then it's considered a clean title. For the purpose of this video, we're going to focus on two brands in particular, salvage and rebuilt or reconstructed, depending on the state. When you purchase a vehicle from an auction, it comes with a salvage certificate or a salvage branded title. After putting the vehicle back together, you can take it to a level 3 inspection facility, and depending on the state, after everything passes and you pay up, it gets a rebuilt or reconstructed brand on the title and can legally be put back on the road. Now that we have a 1,000-foot view of the process, back to the original reason you're probably watching this video. You found a car that's way cheaper than anything else out there. Everything looks good on the listing, except it doesn't have a clean title. Well, that's pretty much the only good reason why you'd want to buy a rebuilt vehicle. You can get more car with less miles for less money. As far as the cons go, that list is a little longer. Some may matter more than others, but most of these have a way around them as long as you're willing to do your due diligence. First, most insurance companies don't want to insure a rebuilt vehicle. It's because in the event of another accident, they have no way of knowing what damage was prior to the accident and what's new. Some insurance companies will want to do an inspection on the vehicle before they insure it, and others will have no issues with it. They'll just put it on the road. Again, if you make sure to find out how your insurance company feels about it, then it's less of a con and more about something you need to know ahead of time. The second issue is a lower resale value. This is what has you here to begin with. You found a cheap car online that's way less than any other cars in that age mileage range. Well, if you buy that car and decide to sell it in the future, you can expect to get 20 to 40% less than other similar vehicles. But just like the last con, if you don't plan on selling it and want to use the car for yourself, it's a lot less of an issue. And that trend continues with the final con, and that's safety. These vehicles do go through an inspection process, yes, but they're not always the most thorough, and things can be hidden and missed. With that said, if you have someone you know and trust, or you pay a shopper or an inspector to look at the vehicle with you, they can go over all the repairs, the overall health of the vehicle before you buy it. And this is probably something you should do regardless of the title status. Ultimately, the decision is one you're going to have to make yourself, and it depends on your mechanical knowledge as well as your risk tolerance. Yes, buying a new vehicle has a much lower chance of having an issue, but if you're willing to look into rebuilt vehicles, you can get a similar vehicle for way less. Take this 2016 Cruze, for example. I bought this in 2018, so it was only 2 years old, and it only had 24,000 miles on it. This car was worth around $14,000 at the time, and I only paid $7,500 for it. As promised, here's the best thing you could do, in my opinion, when you're buying a rebuilt vehicle. Find out what caused this vehicle to be totaled in the first place. Take the VIN, Google it. You should be able to find the previous listings from the auction, or even pay for a service like Car Vertical or Carfax to figure out exactly what was wrong. This can do two things. One, if it was a stolen vehicle, you know there's probably not a whole lot wrong with it and can look at it like any other used car. Two, if it was flood damage, do yourself a favor and stay far away from it. Unless you love diagnosing little electrical issues months later and oddities for the life of the vehicle, it's better off just to avoid these. And finally, you can put more focus on the places that were repaired. If it was rear-ended, look at the body lines in the back. Do they all line up? Look up underneath the rear bumper. If it was crushed, does it look like it was all replaced? Again, if you're not comfortable with this, take a friend who is, show them what the vehicle looked like before it was repaired. If you have any additional tips, leave them in the comments below to help someone else out. Thanks for watching.